Good morning. Welcome to First Mover, your first global look at today's action in the Bitcoin, blockchain, and digital asset space. I'm your host, Christine Lee, and joining me are my co-host, CoinDesk managing editor of Global Capital Markets, Lawrence Luton, as well as international content managing director of international content, Emily Parker. Happy Friday, everyone. What a week.
Depends on who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Not a happy Friday for a lot of people.
It's true. I can say for myself with the SALT conference, mainnet afterward, it's been a very busy couple of weeks. Let's check in quickly on Bitcoin to see what Lawrence means. Yes, Bitcoin is down about 5.3% over the past 24 hours, trading now at about $41,168. The CoinDesk Ether price, ETX index, is below $3,000 now, trading at $2,800 and change, down about 8.7%. And the new DFX, CoinDesk's DeFi index, right now at 490, taking a lashing down over 8% over the past 24 hours. The most reliable reference prices for institutions since 2014 are now published under the CoinDesk brand, trusted globally as the leader in crypto news, events, and data. So, Lawrence, not a good day for many people's portfolios in the crypto industry.
No, not at all. China came out with yet another announcement saying they're banning aspects or a huge chunk of crypto, basically. We've been parsing through their announcement, but it looks basically pretty much like a blanket ban. I'm still trying to figure out whether or not it's a total ban on ownership. But nonetheless, it makes it impossible, or at least publicly or legally, to trade crypto in China. But we've been through this several times before, and it's not necessarily entirely new. But
Right.
There's something about this that makes it really. It feels a little different. It feels more like what happened in May than anything else. But I think Emily has a lot of thoughts on this, no?
Yeah, so this was quite some news to see this morning. I think the sort of silver lining here is that, there was a time when there would be news like this from China, or even less news like this from China, and Bitcoin would absolutely collapse. And that's not really what's happening, right? I mean, Bitcoin is down, but I wouldn't call this like a collapse or even a crash. I mean, we've seen more dramatic price reactions to other news like Elon Musk, for example. So I think in some ways that is, at least over the short term, we'll see what happens with Bitcoin's price. That is somewhat positive because it means that China does not have the impact on the global market that it once did.
Interesting. Yeah. And crypto Twitter is up on the uptake, signaling just that China has frequently said that they would ban crypto and Bitcoin, but it's never actually happened, but it has impacted the markets in the past.
China FUD is trending on China FUD is trending on Twitter, which leads me to believe that it actually might be serious, because whenever the maxis complain about FUD, there's some truth underlying the real fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
All right, let's get to the bottom of this with our crypto markets guest.
The Crypto Markets Update is presented by Grayscale, the world's largest digital currency asset manager.
All right, joining us now to discuss the crypto markets and more is Rain Steinberg, CEO of crypto investment firm Arca. Welcome to the show, Rain. So what do you make of this pullback we're seeing in the markets? Is this China crackdown something to worry about, or just more fear, uncertainty, and doubt?
It is a little bit different, obviously, as a full ban. We read it the same way, but not banning ownership. This was actually telegraphed back in September 15th, so about 10 days ago, and the market mostly reacted to it. We're getting a lot of color from our desks and counterparties that mainly retail selling, not traditional funds or even crypto funds, are really selling into this.
So yeah, this is clearly big news. But I was just sort of saying in the intro, it seems like the impact on price is relatively muted, right? With an emphasis on relative. I mean, it seems that China is not having the same kind of impact on global markets that it would have had in the past. I mean, considering how dramatic this announcement appears to be, would you agree with that?
Completely. And when you look at what happened with miners, that was seen to be as a very serious event for Bitcoin. And it was, but serious not really in the negative way. It proved kind of its resilience. So there was about 60% of the mining capacity in China when they kicked out the miners. There was a huge drop in hash power, but then that almost immediately recovered and is now higher when mining went to other areas. So where if mining was still in China and some of the other things had not happened, this might have been a bigger event. But this really shows a diminishing power of China over the market, and also a maturation of crypto and Bitcoin as well.
Rain, let's get back to that ownership question, because if is what we're seeing right now, basically the Chinese government hinting that, look, we might come after ownership down the road. Right now, we're going to ban things around crypto. But ultimately, our long-term plan is to not allow you to own any whatsoever, and we might come after you. But we're going to give you some time to unload somehow, however way you can, before we start knocking on your door and taking you away. Do you think that that's what's really going on here? Or do you think that it's just sort of like a, kind of like a half-hearted ban here?
Unclear yet, but when you look at the Chinese state in general, this is a command and control economy, and a state that is controlling more and more of people's lives with things like social credit. So it doesn't surprise me that as Bitcoin or crypto, our digital assets gain prominence or interfere with the projection of the state's power, that the state would react like this and could go to a total ban. So when it wasn't that big or wasn't that big a threat, left it alone, and you can see a different reaction now as it gains prominence.
Mm-hmm. Also, you have a bit of news to announce. Arca Labs and Securitize are partnering up to offer tokenized financial products, beginning with the Arca US Treasury Fund. So tell us about this new offering.
Sure. So we're really pleased to announce this partnership with Securitize. And this offering is the first 40 Act approved fund, closed-end fund structure that allows you to hold short-duration U.S. Treasuries. But the digital share of record, the way the client interacts with it, is on the Ethereum blockchain.
And you're doing this deal with Securitize. Do you think that the growth of the NFT market in recent months signals a willingness for the market to trade in asset-backed tokens? Is it warming up the market for what Securitize does?
It is. But people just have to realize that the securities market and asset-backed, and the way things like Securitize work and Arcoin and the Arca US Treasury Fund, this is still a very early time. Prior to this, I co-founded an exchange-traded fund company called Wisdom Tree. And I feel like it's a similar point in the ETF evolution as the early 90s. So very early, and a lot of the regulatory and legal structures have to come out. So most of the people that are here in crypto are here for other reasons. And some of the larger players that are more interested in heavily regulated, legal structures are in a wait and see mode. So there's very little impetus for them to get involved. Now, things like NFTs that are offering specific value propositions are getting people over the line. But those people with very high legal and regulatory thresholds, there's a lot of risk to coming in. So products like Arcoin and the Securitize offering remove some of that uncertainty and allow large institutional players to benefit from the benefits of blockchain. So, instant transference, immediate settlement, fractionalization, all of those things that we love in digital assets. But it's just difficult for large players to come in.
Right. But the spirit of crypto celebrates financial freedom and more open access to the financial system. So if I'm not a high net wealth investor, can I access these products? And if not, is something lost in that?
No, absolutely. This is the reason we went out under the 40 Act, is that this is the broadest type of financial product that can be offered to the retail public. This is the same act that oversees mutual funds and ETFs. You could think about this as the next iteration of the ETF on blockchain. And we believe in all of those things about digital assets, but we're not dogmatic in about how we get there. We really think increasing utilization, bringing more people in, and a big tent, and that includes regulators, because this is a very confusing time for them. And we're seeing a lot of, if we want to say FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt around US regulations as well. It's just a very difficult time. They don't know how to regulate this. So we're trying to create products that make sense to everybody while we enable this digital transformation.
So, Rain, what kind of products are going to be offered to your clients here? To your customers, what are they getting? Like, are we looking at tokens that are based on, traded assets elsewhere? And also, is there any worry about how the SEC will approach this? And do you think that the SEC might change its mind with how digital assets or asset-backed tokens are traded?
Sure. There's a couple of things there. So in this product specifically, we submitted our perspective and received exemptive relief back in July. So this is the same as an ETF application that has been approved. So this is actually in the market, and anything that could be put in an ETF or 40 Act wrapper could be put in, what we call the BTF structure, the blockchain transferred structure or blockchain transferred fund. So that works within our current regulatory system. Some of the other things that are going on, DeFi, other asset-backed tokens, there's questions whether these are securities. And this is, I think, there's going to be some uncertainty and some overhang while the commission figures this stuff out. There's a fine line between stifling regulation or inappropriate regulation or regulation that stifles innovation. And also regulation that protects investors. So they are trying to do that, and we've had very constructive conversations with the commission during our application process and during after launch. So I'm quite heartened by their approach.
Mm-hmm. All right, Rain. Well, congratulations on the partnership, and appreciate you coming on the show to discuss the markets. That was ARCA CEO Rain Steinberg. Coming up, find out how the Philadelphia 76ers are going into crypto, and we'll check in with CoinDesk Gold Policy and Regulation Managing Editor Nick Day.
The CoinDesk Spotlight is brought to you by Nexo, the place to earn on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and more.
The Philadelphia 76ers will become the second NBA team to ink a crypto sponsorship deal. The Philadelphia team will sport the Crypto.com logo on its jersey starting this season. And joining us now with more is Chris Heck, president of the Philadelphia 76ers. Hello there, Chris. Good to have you on. Happy Friday. So tell me how this deal works, and does it conflict with the NFT deal the NBA already has with Top Shot?
Well, first of all, we're really excited to be a part of Crypto.com's family. These are folks that are based out of Hong Kong and have 10 million users right now, and that's really appealing to us to have a global audience. So we're excited to have our fan base expand through the great reach of Crypto.com. And to answer your question on the NFTs, the NBA allows individual teams to create their own NFT program on top of what they are doing directly with the players and the Players Association with Top Shot. And it's a really, really interesting and exciting time. And our fans, as we found out yesterday when we announced this partnership, our fans are super excited to be getting into the NFT world.
So, Chris, first of all, good morning. And second of all, do the players get a cut of any of the NFTs if their likeness appears in it? Is it part of their contract, or did you have to do new contracts with the players regarding it? Or are you collecting 100% of the profit here?
Yeah, the way the league is set up at the NBA, it's a complete 50-50 partnership. So every dollar that we generate is split, and that is split to those players directly, whether it is with merchandising or other programs, or through the salary cap and what every team is allowed to pay, and then also required to pay. So it is a true 50-50 partnership.
Chris, I'm curious, are you personally interested in crypto? Do you have any crypto investments? Do you buy NFTs? I'm just curious, like, how your own personal interests intersect with this major initiative.
I am. I've been in the game for a little less than a year, and I'm learning every day. It's exciting. It is really a great education to dig into, and it's been an unbelievable hobby for me during the pandemic. And I've really enjoyed it. I'm asking more questions maybe than I have in the last 20 years on any one particular topic. But I love it. I love that our fans are going to be able to enjoy it. And we're going on this ride. And we think that the crypto space is going to have a place in sports. And that is going to be directly with our consumers, whether it is on hobbies and different things like NFTs, or it is actually using cryptocurrencies to buy products. So we're excited, and we're all in on this.
Interesting. So you've gotten over the hump, and you're comfortable with the idea of crypto. I know 76er Danny Green was on CoinDesk to promote his NFT of his 2020 championship ring. But, a lot of folks who are not familiar with crypto think of its shady origins, but you're fine with that. And as U.S. regulators even look to crack down on crypto or regulate parts of crypto, you are, I guess, comfortable with the association.
Yeah, listen, I think I try to compare it to trying to figure out a smartphone and what it was 10 years ago. It didn't exist. So we're curious. We're interested. We have a trusted partner in crypto.com. They're educating all of us and our fans. And we think it's certainly worthwhile because we believe the world is going to be smaller and smaller. And in the NBA, this is a global league with global players and global interests. We have fans all over the world, and it's something that we need to be curious. We need to get out of our comfort zone, and so the crypto space is smart, and it's something that I never thought I would enter into. But I would say the same thing about social media. It was really intimidating in the beginning, and now I'm on Twitter every day.
So Chris, Christine mentioned Danny Green. He's one of the people that he's very knowledgeable. He's one of the players very knowledgeable about NFTs. Or so he said there are several other players as well who know a lot about this stuff. How involved were they in the process? Have they been educating you on how this whole thing works?
Well, it's interesting you say that. We do communicate with our players, and they're our coworkers too. So we see them and we talk to them, whether it is some of their investments and their interests, their charity and their foundation. So we try to get involved just like you would with your coworkers. And these are a lot of smart young men. It's really interesting. Our fan base skews closer to the crypto buyer. So if the crypto buyer is average age 37 years old, I would say that we're right in that wheelhouse. That's kind of our Instagram audience, so to speak, and we learn so much from people that are maybe younger than myself. The more open-minded we can be, I think the smarter and more advantageous it will be for the franchise.
Chris, you mentioned that crypto could have this sort of wide-ranging impact on sports because people could start to buy more products via cryptocurrencies. But other than like just the cool factor, what would be the impact of that? I mean, how is that good for the sports industry? Are there any inefficiencies that it addresses? Other than just like, okay, that's a cool thing we're adding to this.
Yeah, listen, we're in the consumer product game, and this is no different than some of the major. I don't want to mention any major corporations, but we know who they are, and everybody's learning the space, and everybody's deciding like, well, is this going to be good for our consumer, right? So if they're in this and they're interested in it, so shouldn't we be delivering our products to their convenience? And I think that's the whole mentality here is, yes, we sell merchandise and jerseys, we sell tickets, and now we're going to be selling NFTs. We sell television and radio. We are in the consumer product engagement world. And the more that we can do for our fan base and provide an easier path, then the better it is for everyone.
So, Chris, speaking of fan base, I have to ask because my father-in-law is a huge 76ers fan. He's rabid, lifelong. So, his question is this: what happened with Ben Simmons? What's going on there? Is he coming back? Is it over? How are you guys handling it?
Well, Ben Simmons is on our team, and we love him, and we're excited about training camp starting next week. So we're going to approach it as such, and this is an exciting season ahead for us. And like I said, we have a lot of great players, and our team is poised to do something special this year.
All right, we'll wrap it there. But just one last one. Why is Gritty a better mascot?
Gritty is a good mascot. I think Gritty, the Flyers did a great job with Gritty. You can't not love Gritty, right? So they did a really good job, and I think that's fun, and that's what sport's all about. We want to give people a break from reality sometimes, and mascots, whether it's Gritty or our mascot Franklin, they keep it a little lighter and definitely skew for the children.
All right. Thanks, Chris, for joining us, and good luck with the new rollout of this Crypto.com partnership. That was Philadelphia 76ers President Chris Heck. Time now to check in with CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor Nick Day, who is also the editor of CoinDesk's The State of Crypto newsletter. Good morning, Nick. Okay, so we heard obviously this morning this crackdown on crypto by China, once again reiterating that they are not fond of virtual currencies. It's not used for legal tender. They eventually want to ban it from the country. Can you contrast and compare that to what U.S. regulators are doing as they look into the space and look to regulate the crypto industry? What are some of the similarities and differences?
Good morning. Yes, China once again announcing they're not fond of Bitcoin or cryptos in general. I'm not even sure how many times we've heard it or talked about at this point that China's been cracking down on the industry. The U.S., I don't think is going to go quite so far, right? The U.S. is kind of, so far regulators look to be, they're trying to implement an actual regulatory regime. They want to enforce more reporting and more, tax reporting and collection, maybe more stringent KYC rules for sure. But that's a far sight from declaring transactions illegal entirely. And it does not look like the U.S. is heading down that path. And, it would be, I don't think they'd want to go quite so far.
They may not, but in the U.S., we also have states, the way China has provinces, the state regulators, and we have Kentucky now going after Celsius, right? That's a new situation that just happened today?
Plus, if you're Brad Sherman, you want to ban crypto.
If you're Brad Sherman, you want to put everyone
sure,
in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But he is one of like more than 400 representatives. So that'll take a little bit of. It's worth keeping an eye on. As far as Kentucky goes, Kentucky had, last night filed against Celsius, claiming it's violating state securities laws. Kentucky was also one of the states that filed against BlockFi back in the summer. So this isn't a surprise, I think. Vermont also, I think, is the remaining state that filed against BlockFi that hasn't announced any action against Celsius. So, if I had to bet, I would keep an eye on Vermont and see what they're up to. But this is just kind of a continuation. I imagine this is going to be the start of a prolonged legal battle. BlockFi still is negotiating with state regulators. We've seen the New Jersey, cease and desist enforcement delayed for months now, and they just announced another delay the other week. So, I think we're in a kind of almost a holding pattern where state regulators are working or talking to these companies to just try and figure out, how exactly they want to proceed.
Nick, there's an infrastructure bill vote coming up, correct?
Yes, on Monday, the House is set to vote on the infrastructure bill, at least as of right now. Unclear to me if it's going to be delayed or not. It's all the representatives saying that they do want to hold the vote, but right now you have the GOP whipping against the passage of the bill, and there's controversy even within Democrats on whether or not they want to pass this bill without the much larger reconciliation package, either at the same time or later on. So it wouldn't surprise me if there was like an 11th hour delay on this vote, but right now I think it's just too murky to call it one way or another.
And Nick, anything on the National Defense Act you can offer us?
Yesterday, the House of Representatives passed the National Defense Authorization Act. This is the annual military budget spending bill that is, basically a must-pass bill. Every year, Congress passes it. They authorize whatever. And so as a result, you always have, a lot of amendments attached. And this year, Representative Patrick McHenry, who is the ranking member on the House Financial Services Committee, added a provision from his Eliminate Barriers to Innovation Act, which, we wrote about this and talked about this earlier this year. This bill would direct federal agencies, including the SEC and CFTC, to send folks into a working group to provide recommendations on just how crypto should be regulated within the U.S. So, if this provision lasts in the bill all through its passage in the Senate and the legislative process, basically, then it will be it could be one of the first bills passed into law that are that is explicitly requiring regulators to come up with some kind of a concrete framework on how they're approaching crypto.
Wonderful. Nick, thanks for the update. As always, have a great weekend. That was CoinDesk Managing Editor of Gold Policy and Regulation, Nick Day. Don't forget to sign up for the State of Crypto newsletter on CoinDesk.com. All right, coming up, checking in on Asia with the daily forecast, plus our tweet of the day.
CoinDesk Indexes, the market standard for crypto assets since 2014. Our trusted data powers billions in publicly traded funds. CoinDesk Indexes are the standard used by institutions, and they're the key for investors looking to understand and access crypto markets.
As the company that launched the world's first ever Bitcoin ETF, we at Purpose chose the CoinDesk Bitcoin Price Index, the XBX, to price our assets.
CoinDesk Indexes enabled the early adopters to build crypto investment vehicles, and they're already trusted by a new generation of global investors.
Time now for the daily forecast, an update on what's happening in the Asia crypto markets. Here's Angie Lau of Forecast News.
Welcome to the Daily Forecast, September 24th, 2021. I'm Angie Lau, Editor-in-Chief of Forecast News, covering all things blockchain. Well, it is D-Day in Korea. Crypto exchanges have just hours now left to make any last submissions in a bid for survival ahead of full imposition of strict new regulations. Now, as our regular viewers know, we've been all over this story, and now we're going to dive into what's been happening as the minutes tick away and what that means for the greater industry as a whole. plus a whole lot more coming up. Let's get you up to speed from Asia to the world. First up, doomsday in South Korea for crypto exchanges who have failed to live up to new regulations. This day has been looming. Exchanges must submit a full compliance report by midnight Korea time, or else they face closure. Now, around 40, which is more than half of Korea's crypto exchanges, are expected to simply disappear. A page in the history books of crypto adoption in Korea, if you will. But regulators say the country's new crypto regulations are designed to create a safer environment for investors. So what does this mean for the industry now? Forecast News' Danny Park reports.
Crypto exchanges in Korea were given 6 months to meet requirements under the new law, with the deadline set for September 24th. Only 4 of Korea's largest, Upbit, Bithumb, CoinOne, and Corbit, fulfilled both requirements. 1. Getting certified for security of personal information, and 2. Partnering with a bank to provide users with real-name bank accounts for transparency. 24 exchanges have attained the first mandate and will now be authorized to run only token-to-token services, not cash-to-crypto. Around 35 exchanges that achieve neither will be shut down as of midnight Friday. One expert says that although the new regulations help construct a better qualified industry for investors, the mandate for exchanges to get the bank contract was too big an obstacle.
근데 은행은 이것을 권한을 잘못 행사하면 엄청난 책임이 따르기 때문에 은행은 그 권한 행사 잘 안 하는 거죠. 결국은 300여 개 거래소 중에서 지금 4개 거래소만 실명 계좌를 받았는데 그 거래소들이 이미 17년부터 받고 있던 그 거래소들이란 말이죠. 그러니까 그 사이에 이 산업이 성장하는 단계에서 나왔던 수많은 혁신적인 거래소나 사업들이 다 문턱을 못 넘어버렸거든요.
Lee asserts that smaller but innovative ideas should be protected under another new law for the virtual asset industry that is currently being developed. For Forecast News, I'm Danny Park.
Meanwhile, developments in China's ECNY project continues to speed up. An expert from the Export-Import Bank of China, state-owned Policy Bank, said the digital currency can be used for overseas payments and has strong international competitiveness. Now that's huge. That brings the goal of internationalization of the RMB that one step closer. The big question is, how much of a challenge to the US dollar's global dominance could it present? Forecast News' Timmy Shen reports from Taipei, Taiwan.
According to a report from Russian news agency Sputnik, Liu Yihua, a deputy director of marketing policy guidance at Exim, a researcher at the Taihe Institute, said that when the ECNY is used outside of China, permissions from local central banks would be required, and foreigners can set up ECNY wallets at local banking institutions. However, an official from the PBOC said the digital yuan is still primarily used for the domestic market at the moment, and one expert told us developing international significance may take some time.
The two parties have to agree, the Chinese and the foreign party. And that is not easy because most people want to trade in the US dollar, or for a fifth of world trade in euros. It will be very slow because it will probably be the first central bank digital currency which is traded internationally.
Roach says while countries like Thailand and Laos will be keen to encourage tourism by allowing ECNY accounts, and others which sell their goods to China may feel obligated to use it, overall these are only small contributions. He says the US dollar gained its dominance historically due to its institutional framework, and replacing the factors that allowed it to achieve that position will be no quick or easy feat for any currency to accomplish. For Forecast News, I'm Timmy Shan, Taipei, Taiwan.
And that is the daily forecast from our vantage point right here in Asia. For more, visit forecast.news. I'm Editor-in-Chief Angie Lau. Until the next time.
All right, thanks for that update, Angie. Time now for a live look at Bitcoin. The CoinDesk Bitcoin price XBX index currently trading at $41,431. Bitcoin sliding over 5% over the past 24 hours. And the CoinDesk Ether price ETX index trading at 28.26 ETH, also tanking almost 8% for the day. And taking a look at the new DFX, CoinDesk's DeFi index trading at 487. DeFi is down about 8.6%. All right, time now to check in with Crypto Twitter with our tweet of the day. Twitter user Gonzo Catalyst responding to CoinDesk's NLW on news that China is once again warning of a ban on crypto. Tweeting in response, you can only ban something once. Afterwards, you're just admitting you couldn't. All right? Can't turn off the internet. It was built to withstand nuclear disaster. China's move is next. That's it for First Mover. Thank you, Emily Parker, Lawrence Lewitton. I'm your host, Christine Lee. I'll be back live at 3 p.m. with All About Bitcoin. And coming up at noon is The Hash. You're watching CoinDesk TV.